last but not the least, we have Mr. Renato Discenza, who is the President and CEO of Invest Toronto, the City of Toronto's new foreign direct investment marketing and sales corporation. Mr. Discenza has experience in both the private and public sectors as a senior executive. Prior to joining Invest Toronto, he was the Senior Vice President of Technology and IT Projects at Infrastructure Ontario. Recognized with the Top 40 Under 40 award, Mr. Discenza spent the majority of his career with Bell Canada at AT&T Canada, where he held senior positions in sales, wholesale operations, customer service, capital management, and engineering. He has served on the boards of the Change Foundation, Waterfront Toronto. He served as the Vice Chair of the Windsor Airport, on the board of the Credit Valley Hospital, the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, and he was the chairman of the Greater Toronto Marketing Alliance. And now, at the helm of Invest Toronto, he's putting businesses around the world on notice that Toronto is an international business destination.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and my name is Renato Discenza, and at first blush, you might think, how does this guy fit in? So, it actually is quite easy. Though, first of all, I do have invest in my company title, so I think that's important. But also, I met the other prerequisites. I do have a Z and a vowel in my last name. Together, that makes it really important. But actually, I am delighted because, you know, I'm sharing a stage with folks like John Bidoff of the Bidoff family, and there's no more iconic family in business and community in Canada and from any group, and so should be very proud of the work they do. And of course, Mike Zafarowski, I was in the IT industry and telecom industry. Everybody knows him as Mike Z. In Canada, it's Mike Z, but we all know him. His reputation precedes himself. And of course, Victor and I share a job, in a sense, and so all I could say for Victor is give him a big raise, because this is tough business. Anytime I can talk about Toronto or how to bring in investment, I'm always delighted. Toronto is truly a unique place. You know, we have a GDP per capita greater than that of Los Angeles or Chicago. It's truly, we're 20% of Canada's economy. It's a $1.3 trillion GDP, and we're over 20% of that. We're over half of Ontario's. So we're a very significant force in Canada, but moreover, on a global basis, we're the financial center of the world's safest banking system. 2 years in a row, the IMF says the Canadian banking system is the safest banking system in the world. And you heard from Mr. Caldwell the importance, absolutely. And you heard, we used to be the most boring. Now we're the sexiest, I think. And so that isn't by accident. That's by prudent business people. People like the Bidoff family that come in here and set principles of doing business the right way. And of course, one of the things I think is most important to us, and I think is important to you, we're the world's most culturally diverse city, full stop, period. We have over 140 cultures coming here. Over 50% of us in the Greater Toronto Area were not born here, including myself. The story that Mike told about a family coming over with literally no money, not speaking the language, with 2 bags, I share that story. Many of us, over 50% of us in this region do, and yet building a future for our children. And that's important, and that's important for Macedonia. Why is it important? Because you, as a group, understand more than others the importance of being accepted with your own values and principles all over the world. And it's something you have to redo in Macedonia. And so what I can offer you today is a perspective, and happy to answer any questions on what does it take to bring investment in. And I think they've been covered largely. Number one, reputation. The ability to do business and do it right and be trusted. Canada, and in Toronto specific, on any number of surveys, the Eidelman survey, et cetera, one of the most trusted business environments. You do a deal, you close the deal. It's no accident there's over 107 towers currently being constructed in Toronto. Over 107 cranes of buildings over 20 stories. It's the most economic activity in real estate in the world, next to Tokyo. And you only have to go outside to see it. Number two, ability to make it easy to do business. And you heard this in all 3 of the gentlemen talking. In Canada, when we did a study, there's 1 step. For every step you need to do in Canada to set up a business, you need to do 6 in the US. You need to do 9 in France. And in Macedonia, I understand it could be 0 or 50. I'm not sure. But it does depend. And that's the reality. That's the problem. But these are important points. And we should be proud of that, because for a business person, there could never be too little steps. So even in Canada, when we think about it, we say, oh, it's too complicated. But, objectively, it's very good. But the third most important, human diverse talent, and it was touched about. Macedonia is a small country. It needs to punch above its weight. What's really important is bringing in those newcomers and being able to use them with the talents and with the desires from wherever they came in the world, to apply them. And that's one thing we want to do in Toronto, we continue to do. If over 50% of our population does not come from here, comes from somewhere else, and we're not tapping into their education, their ties to the different ethnic communities like yourself, and not making sure they're working in the area which they were trained. So it's not good enough just to bring in a worker and have him work with a PhD and say, well, we'll have you work on a construction site. And if he's a PhD, should work in PhD work. It's the only way a country like Macedonia or a city like Toronto can achieve its true GDP potential. The ability to bring in people, and like I say, Macedonia understands this more than anybody else, how important it is to be recognized for the pride of your ethnic origins, but the ability no matter where you come from in the world. And so I think this group has captured it all, and I'd be happy to take any questions, but we are proud in Toronto. We have the world here. We're hosting the Pan American Games, and a lot of that, by the way, folks like John laid the groundwork for us, for forcing us to go out and look at global things like the Olympics, and we finally won the Pan Am. We also have the G20 Summit. So we're very busy in that, and that's the other piece. We're busy getting the press, the international press, to tell our story. And that's the other challenge that Macedonia needs. It needs to create a legend again. You were a civilization long before we ever were. You were trading long before most of these superpowers and developing powers ever were. You need to recreate the legend, and you need to find your storytellers to tell the story. And that's part of what Invest Toronto is. We're recreating the legend and getting people to tell the story. And you, Macedonia, should be so proud, because you have the roots. You were the center of economic trade. You have the people. And look what a small country with well-established roots and high-quality people can do. So I wish you the best of luck, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.